25 seconds to play. I don't think Stanton has a timeout left. Cougars are going to win their first ever state championship in football. A hard-fought victory here for the Cougars, much as we anticipated here in this one. Sandy Creek has done it. The roar goes up from across the way here at Memorial Stadium. The Cougars have done it. They've won their first ever state championship in football. They complete an undefeated season at 13-0 as they knock off Stanton. That's one of the best 8-man high school football games you're going to see right there.
Coach Wiseman, episode 1.
We didn't have really our sights narrowed down on anybody that season other than just kind of focusing on us and continuing to grow off of the season before. The season before was the first year making the playoffs and went out and won out in Sandhills. And I think just moving into that next season, I think we were just more focused on us.
I guess it was just kind of us thinking about, who are we as a team? How good are we going to be? Who's going to want it more? We just kind of had to figure some things out about our team that we didn't know yet.
Well, I think 2023, there were quite a few teams at the top of the class that we felt like, we're good enough to win it. EMF is a team we saw in the regular season. We knew they were really solid.
The thought process for the EMF game, it was, we knew it was going to be a tough game. They had a good team the previous year, so we knew they were some of that talent was gonna come over into the next year.
EMF beat us, and that one was personal, honestly, for me because of what they did to Connor Rempe.
They were a team that the year prior to that really gave us problems when we were on offense, so we spent a lot of time trying to create some looks offensively that we thought could be advantageous to us, and that was kind of what we were gonna hang our hat on that week.
I thought our offense was moving the ball really well that game, and we were scoring at a high pace and a high rate, and especially when we went into overtime as well, we just had to continue to battle and fight because we knew that that's what makes a great team, is like never quitting, never backing down.
They were going to force you to stop them, and so that was kind of the emphasis in practice all week. We spent more time offensively. Not that defense wasn't important that week, but just that we kind of knew what to expect and we knew what we were going to see.
Yeah, man, that was one of the funnest games I've ever been a part of. Player, coach, fan. That was one of the, it was just two sides, two teams that didn't want to lose.
I'd say probably just towards the end there where we tied them up and had to go into an overtime. And then one overtime turns into two, and two turns into three, and we finally got our stop on the goal line, which was really nice, and we was able to come out on top with the 64-62 win.
They had a bunch of good athletes and good football players on their side, and so did we. And I can't even remember, specifics of that game just because it was like a huge blur. And I kind of knew once we got into the overtime periods, it was going to come down to who wanted it more. And again, just I don't know, just watching two teams battle like that is just so fun to be a part of.
What was the emotions and the perspective after the game?
Very tired, very whooped, but we were really happy that we beat them in triple overtime. It was a hard win, and we felt like we deserved it more than them. So I'd say emotions were just really excited.
I remember wondering, like in the first overtime, if the lights were going to shut off on us, because our lights are on an automatic timer and we set them to go off at whatever time that is, maybe 11 o'clock, which should be plenty of time for a football game. But when you go into 3 overtimes and have 126 points scored, it takes a little while longer.
I think that EMF game was big. I think that was the time when you're like, oh, like maybe they're for real here. Like, what's this team? Like, who are they? That's when people like me just started like really paying attention and digging, and like every Saturday you're looking at scores and trying to find stats and what happened. And I think that was the point in the season where it was like, these guys are good. Like they have a shot here.
Since we won that game, we knew what we could do. We knew that we could beat good teams. So I don't think it changed anything. I just think it brought us closer. It definitely brought us closer to our goal. But I just think it gave us more confidence, and it helped us strive for even further and further goals after that.
When you're in a battle for 3 extra overtime periods, it almost reminded me of this year's state championship game. You could almost just feel the will of those kids, that those players, that we're not losing this football game, and it just propelled them. It was kind of like leap forward after that game, and they just weren't going to get beat.
I guess our mindset after the EMF game was kind of, we set our bar high. We followed kind of social media and kind of where we were at, and we kind of wanted to be higher than what we were. We were kind of ranked like, I think, 6th, and we felt like we were a better team. So our mindset was like, what could we do? Like, we need to set our bar to, a higher standard so we could, accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, and that was winning state.
There's a lot of people on social media and stuff that was posting about it, saying that it was the game of the year for 8-man, and, people just, I think that was the moment that they realized that, we could be a powerhouse this year and we could have a shot to go to Lincoln.
Yeah, that Exeter Milligan Friend game, that EMF game that I should have attended and went elsewhere, probably was a turnaround, probably opened some people's eyes, because EMF had a heck of a team, and I don't know how many times that young guy carried the ball, but to pull that one out, probably the turning point, in my estimation.
I would say after the EMF game, that's when we kind of all realized that, we're a good team. I would say the EMF game was kind of like a benchmark game where we're going to figure out how good we are, and, we beat them. So that's where I think we were like, all right, we're pretty good. Like, we could go far this year. We had a lot of potential, I think. And I guess after that win, I was just excited for the rest of the season.
And getting through those games, we felt like, not that we were overlooking anybody, certainly, because we knew we still had some pretty quality teams left on the schedule, but really felt like we just needed to hone in on the things that we needed to get better at, and really just focus on us for the rest of the season, and just try to work on us and try to get better to make a playoff push.
I think we just took it like we did every other week, just one game at a time, not really changing anything up. I mean, obviously coaches had a game plan in place of what we're going to do offensively, what we're going to do defensively, and so I don't think anything really changed that much.
Maxwell was a little bit of a different team. They ran a pretty different defense than what we've seen, so that preparation was a little different. But when it came to Weeping Water, it was just another game. So we didn't really add in anything special.
What a fun game to play in. What an interesting game to play in. We knew Weeping Water was really well coached. They'd made a deep run in the playoffs the year before with a 500 record, just like they were in 2023. We knew the kids on their team knew how to win. They had playoff experience. I think they had that over us.
The way that Weeping Water, especially from the defensive side of the football, the way that they ran their offense, it was different than what we had seen. They were a lot of spread and ran horizontal run actions and read options and things like that, where they'd let our DNs go and they would read our DNs. And they did a lot of motion side to side. So the preparation for the Weeping Water game was completely different.
Our mindset going into the Weeping Water game was just kind of, they were in the playoffs, so they could be a team that could challenge us, and, we just had to focus and go out and do our thing, and coaches always had confidence in us, so we were confident that we were going to go in there and get the job done.
I remember that first drive, it took the whole first quarter. We were on defense the whole first quarter, and after that first quarter, we kind of knew that it was going to be that style of game, and that when we had the ball on offense, we had to execute, and defensively, we needed to find a way to either A, get a stop and get the ball back in our hands, or B, force a turnover.
I think offensively, we really struggled picking up blitzes, and they stunted a lot. So it was a really good struggle. They sacked our quarterback probably the most we've ever allowed, and we couldn't run.
I would say the entire game, there was kind of a level of uncertainty where, you didn't know. It was the closest game we'd had besides the EMF game, and it was pretty, kind of a stalemate the entire game.
We felt like we had a good game plan coming in. We had a couple guys go down. Jack Watts, Hudson, Devlin both went down with injuries. And that changed a lot of what we were trying to do, and we had to adjust some things on the fly, and some young guys had to step up in big ways.
I would say there's some moments of worry. Me and Hudson, both starters, were being out. We got injured in that same game. And I wouldn't say there was too much worry, just because we knew our backups had our back, and they practice with us every day, so they play at the high tempo that we all play at.
Those are two really big pieces, especially on both offense and defense. Jack was always two-gapping, so that really just he always clogged up the middle of the field, so they couldn't run in the middle of the field. And Hudson was a great defensive end that just plays with a lot of instinct, plays with a lot of fire, a lot of passion out there, and a really vocal leader too. So I guess in that game, when both of them went down, I guess our team kind of was just had to step up into new roles.
Everybody talks about being unprepared, but I think I was really greatly prepared, because that whole season I'd been going up against Jack and I'd been going up against Hudson, and those guys were really pushing me. Going against that first team, I think that really made me as good of a player as I am. It's just because grinding every day against those guys pushed me to be the best player I can.
It was kind of more of a trust thing. You get hurt, you had to trust your teammates, which, I feel like we have a good enough culture and we build a good enough team that we can just trust our backups. And I think that's something we benefit from than other teams, so that we have backups that can play just as well as the starters can.
Everything wasn't going our way. It wasn't necessarily how we had practiced the week prior or our attitudes coming into the game. Things just weren't going right, but we still managed to come out on top and win that game.
I think we just didn't play good. I think from the start of the game, we had that. We still had that chip on our shoulder, and we just thought we could just steamroll them, when this is a good competitive team that we actually had to battle against.
They played extremely well. They competed extremely well. So give credit to them. They certainly deserve it. But our guys just made just enough plays to find a way to win that game.
Looking deep, throws it up, short, and intercepted. Connor Impey has it. He's down the sideline. He might go all the way, and he does. Touchdown, Cougars!
We played cross county after that. I think it was just survive and advance. It doesn't matter if you win pretty, win ugly. If you win, you win. It just get to the next round.
Going into that game, we knew they had some pretty good talent, and we heard about those guys going D1, and that just made us want to just go out there and prove these guys wrong, because going into that game, we weren't favored to win at all, and especially with those kind of athletes on the other side of the ball, you're thinking, these guys are going to be good, so we got to have a good extra great week of practice to make sure we are ready for the game.
Clearly, probably the underdog in that game, just based off what Cross County had done the year before. And then what talent that they had on the team.
I remember driving up to the game that night and thinking, oh my, if we can get this one, then something really big's going to happen. But I was a little hesitant. I mean, I was probably more nervous than the guys on the field, as a fan of these kids and coaches. It's like, this is huge. I mean,
honestly, I don't want to make anybody upset at Cross County, but going into that game, after having I watched Sandy Creek prior to that, I thought they were way more physical. And Cross County was a little bit of a one-dimensional team. They couldn't throw a lot. Sandy Creek had a terrific defensive backfield and a good line. I don't think Sandy Creek should have been an underdog in that game.
We all wanted to go out and show that even if you have two people going D1, it doesn't matter. You're still in high school. Anything's possible. I mean, it's just we wanted to go out and prove to people that we may be a small school, but we know how to play, and now we can all say that we've beat Division I players.
I think being the underdogs kind of set a tone that we need to prove something. It's not something that was unattainable. I think we took advantage of what we had and the people that we had, and we knew that we could beat this team and beat this team by a lot.
We felt like coming into that game, we just needed to come out swinging. We needed to try to score early, try to score often. We needed to take a bunch of shots, and we needed to try to get them on our heels. We felt like that was going to benefit us the most.
But, you know, I wish it wasn't so separated the way it was score-wise. I'm pretty sure we had the running clock put on them right after halftime. And again, like, I don't think anybody's expectation going into that game was that. So the shock and the awe of that actually happening, and myself included, you know, it wasn't just the players. As a coach on the sideline, I did not expect to beat Cross County the way that we did.
Nobody believed in us.
Ball carried by Yogi for the Mustangs.
Stanton was probably the favorite in that game, to be honest, just like everybody else. And then it turned out to be a pretty epic game. Was it 48-36? Yeah.
I don't think there was any added stress going into that game. I mean, just being in a semifinal game for the first time in 30 years, you know, I think that's where the pressure came from.
I try to focus more on the game and what's in front of me rather than who's in the stands and who's watching me. It definitely did add to a more championship-like atmosphere. I definitely did feel that.
Whether you want to call it pressure or not, they'd never experienced it. So I think experiencing that game, and I thought they did a great job of handling emotions and so on and so forth. But again, a game like that is you only learn by experiencing, and that game was huge for us in that sense.
When you come out onto the field and you see that many people there and how loud it was just even during warm-ups, it was an awesome feeling. And I think that just had our guys like rise to the level of that and just play to that level.
I mean, that big crowd was definitely something that you shouldn't take for granted in all of high school football, because you don't get many atmospheres like that throughout your career. So just atmospheres like that make you want to play the game even more and get you even more hyped for the game, because all these people show up to watch you and what you put out on the field. And so when you're going into that, you just kind of got to think like, all right, these people showed up for me, so let's just go give them a show. Let's go put something on. Let's go show them what we've got.
We gotta do our game and try our hardest to win. And if we win, we go to Memorial and complete our dream. And if we lose, we come back the next year, and then we go to Memorial.
So that was kind of our mentality going in, that it was going to come down to really who made more plays. Gosh, once again, I just felt like we couldn't get out of our own way. You know, they scored on a QB sneak. Coach Stoddard calls it a wedge, which is what it is, but for the common person, calling it a QB sneak is probably sufficient. They scored on like a 60-yard run on that play. And then we get the ball back, and we had a script where we were going to try to run a few plays to kind of see how they lined up and see how they adjusted. And then we fumbled on the first play, and they got the ball back.
Yeah, ran for a 53-yard or 50-something yard touchdown, and, you know, that kind of set the tone of like, this is going to be a dogfight, and we could either fold or we can either, you know, fight back. And then, you know, the next drive, you know, got a fumble, and then they went to score it again. So we're down to 2 scores already, and so, you know, we got to put our foot on the pedal.
You know, before halftime, letting Wilkie scamper, you know, all the way into the end zone. I think we were tied at that point, and there was 6 seconds left going into half. And I just felt like that was a huge momentum shifter. Obviously not in our direction, and letting him go for 50, 60 yards into the end zone before half was huge for momentum. And then I felt like we were just kind of playing catch up the whole time.
That was just one mistake. You know, we knew we still had a whole other half to play. And so really anything could have happened. I would definitely say that my focus kind of increased after that, just because that was a mental lapse. It was an error on our part. It wasn't like an effort thing or anything.
There was a lot of frustration in the locker room at halftime. I think it changed our sense of urgency. I think we knew that if we were going to find a way to win that game, that it had to be immediately in the third quarter that we made a run.
Hey, we got a whole half to play. You know, there's plenty of things that we can do in this second half in order to get the momentum back on our side, and this game's not over.
We're down 20-6. We score right away, and then we get a stop and score again, and then it's kind of back and forth. And we had a 2-point lead early in the fourth quarter.
I think that's what added to it was you didn't know what was going to happen next. So it's just you play as hard as you could just to give yourself a chance.
And we kind of felt like whatever team was going to get a stop was probably the team that was going to win. And if not, it was going to come down to whoever had the ball last.
It felt like a great battle, honestly. Like, it felt like they wanted it and we wanted it. And it came down to who wanted it more and who had more gas left in the tank.
You know, so we have a 2-point lead in the fourth. They go down and score, and then we fumble again. And then they recover and they go down and score in about 2 plays, and now we're down 2 scores. It was really crunch time at that point because there's about 5 minutes left, and we just started throwing the ball around the park, trying to find something to score fast, and we ended up getting intercepted again.
All of us left our hearts out on the field. All of us left all we could out on the field, always giving 110% every play. It was just from an execution standpoint that we didn't execute to the highest level. And I really think that led to some things like that we wish we could take back in that game.
And just like that, the Mustangs prove victorious. They're going to Lincoln.
All of us were pretty heartbroken after that game.
You know, it was a really heartbreaking way to lose that game.
I'd say that's definitely one of the worst ways to end your season, getting so close. But I think it kind of lit something in all of us, getting ready for the next year and everything. And it kind of showed us that, we are this close. We're 12 points shy of being that team in the state championship.
If we left it all out here, none of us should be sad, all right? None of us should be sorry. None of us should be so sorry, all right? We left it all out here. We played. Okay? We're just those few plays away from making it. Okay? We're so close. So close.
The very next Monday after that game, we had that score written on the whiteboard in the weight room, and it didn't come down till after we won the championship this year.
That really just fueled us for what we could be, especially going into the other sports as well. We realized that we still gotta get bigger, faster, stronger, to make sure we can compete at the highest level in 8-man football. And especially in the weight room during the summer, you just look up and on the whiteboard would be 48-36, and you realize that's what you're going for. That's why you're trying, because you're pushing to get to that state championship game.
We remembered that score all through summer weights, football camps in the summer. Even this year, we have it written on our weight room board, just so it's still in our head that we got beat in the semifinals, and we use that as motivation to thinking that we're not going to get beat again.